We've had some good questions come in. I was just explaining. Uh, Look, I've sort of been. You and I have swapped emails over the years. I've been watching you grow, and look, I know you've been on a fairly grueling 6 month sort of promotion of your book. So I don't want to repeat all of that because there's so many great podcasts out there where people can find all that great content. We're going to be sending some books to some of the great questions that have come in. What I'd love to know is, so you've just launched the book. You're a father for the first time. AppSumo
Damn
is
right.
killing it. What's next for Noah Kagan? Sleepless nights.
Oh, it says forecast. It says forecast 2024. Diapers. Yeah, I think there's a great theme that I've been really excited about, which is subtraction. And what up? Thank you for having me, by the way. And what up? If you guys can do it in the chat, I'd love to see who's here. If you can introduce yourselves, because I don't know you, and so otherwise I'm talking. Uh, I'd love to know who we're talking to. So if you can introduce yourselves in the web chat. But yeah, in terms of what's next, it's about what's now. And so I've been really thinking about subtraction these days, which is what are the few things that really matter in all these aspects. And so what that means for specifically, let's take the different categories of my life. With AppSumo, we do a lot of marketing. Okay, what's the one marketing that matters? Performance marketing. And performance marketing for us is ambassadors, affiliates, Google, and Meta. Okay, almost everything else in marketing, let's stop doing. So, like, we're not going to be posting on social at all. We're not going to be really maintaining our Facebook group. Let's really come back to the core of what's working, and then how do we really expand that, significantly grow that? And that's just been relieving. And so that's one example. In terms, you're asking me what's next. It's about not adding. Like I'm trying to subtract on my calendar. So lately in my calendar, I'm very bored. I'm like extremely bored. My calendar is open, and as a CEO, this is something I don't know where different people in your audience are at, Callum, and I'm pronouncing it correctly, Callum.
Yeah.
And in terms of subtraction as a CEO, I'm really like I'm only going to do three things at AppSumo from now on. I'm going to say the vision and the goals for the year, which I'll do with the team. I'm going to help pick the people that are the leaders, and then I'm going to set the budget. Outside of that, I don't want to do anything else. It's not that I don't want to do anything else, but that's how you're able to live life fun and enjoyable and get things done. And so I think with that, with my content, uh, with the content on YouTube or social, just even less of it. I think we were doing like 30 posts a month. Now we're trying to do 8 posts a month. We used to do 3 videos a week. Now we do 2 videos a month. And it's just really also dialing in all these things I'm doing. Do I really want to do it? And I am fortunate. Yes, I have some money now, which has been, a long time to get here. But I think when you're doing less and especially the things you really enjoy, you make the most satisfaction and contentment for yourself. And ultimately, I do think you can sustain it the longest, which ultimately makes you the most money.
Hmm.
And that's the path I've really been on is becoming ready to be a father is like, all right, I want time for the family. I want time for openness. So like today, I didn't really have anything until 1. So like I went for a walk with my wife and we cooked breakfast. And then, yeah, from like 1 to 6 now, I'm, doing some different meetings that I'm excited about or, get a chance to hang out with people like you.
Yeah, very cool. So, um, look, I'm seeing that a lot, and I think I've noticed that as well. There was a push certainly amongst content creators. We just got kind of driven into a more is better, like just keep putting out more and more. And it isn't sustainable. And I also think a lot of the content ends up becoming very samey because everyone's just trying to push to the same thing. One of the things that I'm enormously sort of I guess impressed with is your you've grown AppSumo to this beast. And yet a lot of your content is still very much focused on helping people get their first dollar in the door.
Yeah.
And the book is all about that. But kind of looking at the growth of AppSumo, what are some of as you've gone from 100,000 to a million a month, from a million a month to nearly 10 million a month. What are some of the kind of surprising things that you've learned around the growth of a business? Because obviously what you're doing in the first year is very different than you're doing in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was first doing it, the first AppSumo deal ever, just to give context for people, and how many people in the chat have bought from AppSumo or are familiar with AppSumo? I'm curious. When I first did it, it was a Reddit post, a PayPal button, and my Gmail. That was the whole business. That was the back end, front end total thing that was helped me understand that there was an opportunity uh, to see if people really wanted software deals. Because I built other businesses solving the same problem that did not work, and I think people miss out on that, where they're really focused on I wanted this to work. It's like, well, sometimes it just doesn't work, right? Like if you're 5 foot, it's very hard to dunk a basketball. Like you're 5 foot, but maybe you could be a good point guard. Maybe you could be a good coach if you really want to be in the NBA or be in part of basketball. And so I don't know if the question you're asking, but it's like the inflection points maybe would have been the different like inflection points on
I
this
guess
on this
what
growth
some
journey.
of the some like for myself, as my businesses grew, and you kind of cross that 100 million and you start, like, a lot of my content is now around taking companies public, M&A, that kind of stuff, whereas yours is
Yeah.
still very much on the startup space. Just wondering, just on your personal experience, what are some of the surprising things that you've learned about the business now that it's at the level that it's at?
Mm. I would say that my content is not very well connected to AppSumo because
Hmm.
I spend my days in forecast meetings around the budget stuff. I was just in a meeting around a VP of marketing of a guy who's like worked at most companies that people here know about, who's extremely seasoned, and my content and Million Dollar Weekend, it's about making your first dollar. So I would say my content's not really well connected yet to the AppSumo customer. Even our AppSumo customer, it's someone who's gotten experience.
Hmm.
I think where what I'm seeing and what's helped us get to these different levels, one is market size. We honestly we got a part of a market that got bigger. And I think people are working very hard in small markets.
Hmm.
And so why don't you just do the same amount of work, but you have a much higher upside? So I think that's been or even a different problem in the same market, like that has more people wanting to pay for it or pay for it more often. Um, I think the thing that's probably helped us that's getting us to 100 million and beyond probably is just some of the BI that we have. So we have two full-time people and we spend maybe 500,000 to 1 million just on the cost of the software just for data insights. Like just think about that. Like $1 million, we're spending $1 million a year just on data insights. And what that helps us do is we have revenue accuracy to within 5% of our forecasts. And what you have to think about is like when you're riding a bicycle, you don't even need a speedometer. You just ride your bike. But then as you're flying a bigger plane, you need more dials and parameters to understand how things are progressing. I think that's been a huge game changer as we've gotten larger. I would also say just understanding your customer and the products they need is something we can still do better at. And I was talking with our team today, our revenue team, and I think the interesting things that we're doing there is what are you doing today that's going to pay off the same day next year? So if we're good, say we're doing great today, we just had an amazing. We do a yearly event called Sumo Day. We did one day was 1.8 million in the day, which is bonkers. I mean that used to be almost our whole year's revenue, and you have to celebrate the wins, which I think people don't do a great job of, and us included. But then I asked the revenue leader, I said, what are you doing today so that next year's Sumo Day is going to be better? So to do that, one, you debrief this Sumo Day about the things that were good and bad and we can improve. And then secondly, what are seeds we can plant for customers, for product, for data, for what we do so that next year we know is going to be better. And then I'd say another thing is also how are you prioritizing the projects? What I've noticed in business growth, Callum, is like if you're let's say a four-figure business, which is amazing, you're making $1,000 a month or 1,000, 10,000 a year. People are not thinking about opportunity cost. And what I mean by that is stack rank all the things you're doing and put a dollar amount next to them. Or stack rank all the ideas you have and just put literally how much you think they're going to be. And what you'll realize is that most of us are working on like four-figure ideas, and that's why we stay to be a four-figure business. And I've been going back to the team kind of annoyingly so and saying, don't, we're already almost 100 million, which is amazing. Don't bring me six-figure ideas. Like we're going to do it either way. So think about what is a seven-figure and now think about what an eight-figure idea is. And the balance there is eight figures within what you're currently doing, and then some maybe that are, others outside of the core business. So those are just different areas that have helped us in this path to eight, nine figures.
Yeah, yeah, no, and look, a lot of that resonates with me, and there are definitely those moments where you go, crikey, like I'm dealing in numbers that were just unimaginable to me a while ago, and it is, yeah, I guess part of the excitement of growing businesses. Well, so one thing that I've been playing around with a lot at the moment. So one of the businesses and a lot of the people on this call have come to it because I launched a business to help women, minorities, and first timers to get their first board seats, and so really been
Awesome.
exploring the notion of boards and why do all of the top most successful companies in the world have boards? Why do most small aspiring companies not have boards? And how do we solve, solve that? And so we put in advisors. We use advisory boards, and so we create advisory boards. And I'm going to come back to that because I know you bring advisors in on a paid level for AppSumo, but just beyond that, one of the things I noticed with the kind of traditional board, and this is a business problem across a wide notion, is that people become very process focused. So you start doing something that works in AppSumo, and your team starts focusing on the process rather than the end result. And so, for example, on boards, people have become so obsessed with boards for the sake of boards and the whole theater around boards, they've often forgot what the purpose of a board is and actually helping those businesses. So
Yeah.
when you're having those conversations with your team about thinking a year and ahead and thinking bigger, how do you get them focused back on the end goal of helping the customer and growing the business rather than going, yes, but we've just invested all this money in this system, so it's all got to be about the system rather than the end goal? Because I'm kind of seeing that as a huge problem across multiple businesses at the moment.
I mean, I think it's always good to come back to, why are you doing this? I think everyone kind of knows that, but we forget it at times. What I think is helpful with different people you work with, I'll give two specific suggestions, is number one, have very clear scorecards of success. So what do I mean by that? Does AppSumo have a very clear, I'll pull it up here, goal for H2, second half of the year? And yes, we have three core objectives that are the only things I want the team focusing on. So let me zoom out. AppSumo has a flywheel. I'm just giving you our business model. We get awesome deals on software products, promote the hell out of it. Hopefully someone buys it. They have an amazing experience. They tell others. They want to come back and find more products. They tell other, and they find more products, tell other people, which then helps us get more deals. And so in our flywheel of our business model, the bottleneck, and that's how you can think about it in your business, is getting more awesome deals. If we can get more awesome deals and then create a great experience, then that kind of really kind of keeps the business, flying even faster and faster. So our top three things is number one, business as usual. So what is already working in your business core that you can improve? I think so many times we're trying to do new stuff. It's like, just do the stuff that works. If you have a happy wife, keep her, and I think we're a lot of times in business, like, I got to do another thing. It's like, no, no, no. The best thing is the thing that works. Second thing is improve our customer experience and trust. And our third thing is focus on product-led growth. And we probably spent 2 to 3 months working to get to this point for H2. And it ties back to our vision, which ties back to our strategy, which ties to these three objectives. So what that means is I take this and I give it to the company and I say, I'll see you in December. And you tell each of the teams, revenue, marketing, product, operations, support, you tell me your top three. And so in all of your different businesses, ask them their scorecards. Like, do you have a very clear scorecard for the period that we're measuring you on? Like, it's like playing baseball. Or I don't know, what's the sport in Singapore? Football? It's like playing soccer, but there's no score,
Yeah.
right? Like, of course you have to have a score. So for each person, start at the highest level. Like, is there a clear scorecard? Now, the second thing you can do, you talked about how people kind of get lost in things. Uh, we have a team. I don't want to criticize them. But what I think you need to do in your business, and I literally we do this every month called an MBR, monthly business review. It's a 20-page presentation across literally every touch point of our business, looking for gaps. And one of the slides that's very helpful, and you can extrapolate this out to your entire business, is looking at the cost of almost every team and thing you spend money on, and really trying to think about the ROI for those different actions.
Mm.
Now, so because what you were saying is like, hey, Noah, you do this thing, but is it even worth it? Is kind of what I heard you say, Callum. And so if it's not worth it, you either need to remove the team or align them to a different objective. So we have a customer support team. I think it's maybe $100,000 a month. And it's like, wow, that's a decent amount. Like, what do we get for that? How many tickets? Like, is there another way to train them? Because a lot of times in business, you kind of just get used to the broken door, is what I call it. Like, if this door is broken here, you just eventually get used to it. And you have to kind of wake yourself up to evaluate everything from ROI. And if it's not ROI, either cut it or you have to adjust it so it's going to be better. For instance, we have a team that helps people get their deals on their website.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't really make us any money, right? They literally, once a partner gives us the deal, they help get on the website. All right, that eventually is going to get either a competitor is going to kick our ass, or we have to figure out how to make that more efficient because there's no profit generated by that. So maybe that team, instead of their measurement of success is deal accuracy, maybe their conversion rate. So that's what we're adjusting it to. Now, instead of worry about the deal is accurate on the page, like how do you optimize and keep optimizing this deal page or product page so that eventually pays for your team? So I think those are the ways that, besides recognizing why you're doing this and so forth, how do you set it up so that people stay valuable on an ongoing basis in your business?
Mm. No, I think that's so good. And I think like you clearly have baked that into the business with the monthly reviews. And I think it's so important.
Yeah.
And I think especially if you're advising a company, so if you're sitting on the board of advisors for a company or um, just within your own company, is constantly going back and questioning, like, have we got detached from the end goal? And yeah, that's super interesting.
I can share this monthly business review. You want to see a few of the slides? I don't know who your audience is, by the way. I want to make sure I'm talking to the right people. Like, are they running businesses? Do they want to be on boards? Are they advisors? Are they
Yeah, so
consultants, coaches?
it's a full mix. We're probably about 50% entrepreneurs, 50% executives. Most of them, I mean, this is across kind of my whole group. Now we're on North American time, so sort of 80% of our audience is still fast asleep, unfortunately. But
Good morning.
we'll send them the video afterwards. But the ones that we've got people on this call in Europe, which is like the middle of the night. So, but we've got a lot of North American audience here.
Look,
So yeah,
all right. Well, let me share this because I think that this could be helpful.
yeah.
Um, I will share a few things. I'll share the few of the slides from monthly business reviews. You can literally just see behind the scenes. Then I will say, for anyone out there who's running a business, if you don't have a board or you don't have advisors in different areas, you're missing out on 10x growth,
Right.
bar none. Um, just to share an example. So this is literal. These are literal MBR. I just got out of this meeting a few hours ago. And
You,
so
your
having different
transparency
perspective,
is
what's
amazing.
that?
Your transparency is amazing. I was watching
Well, it's
yesterday.
for your group. Like, people don't screenshot this shit and take it outside of it, you know. But I think because all these other people that maybe you see on the interwebs are like, yeah, I have all these businesses and I do all these things. It's like, well, how come I can never see anything? It's because it's not real, or their numbers are not. They're embarrassed to share their numbers because they can't stand behind it.
Yeah.
But I think the point I'd recommend from the MBR is, this is also probably like 5 years in the making. Let me share. Like, you just start thinking about different ways. Like, how do I systematize the business and have advisors come in so that they can make recommendations on different call outs for a business? So, like, here's an example in our business. We have 80 people in the team. This is not including contractors or freelancers. So we try to target $1 million per person in gross sales. And so these are ways that in our airplane, we're constantly monitoring it. And again, don't just copy AppSumo. You create this thing and then get advisors, get a board, and over time you kind of keep iterating what questions you need to be asking to improve your business. So yeah, I can share more about that kind of stuff if people are curious. I don't know if that's the thing, but
Yeah, no,
that's our MDR
so,
process.
yeah, no, look, really fascinating. And then let's just touch on the advisors because I think everyone, even if you are a solopreneur just starting out, putting a little team of advisors around you, you don't need to pay them. You just buy them a coffee once a month. Is key. Now, I've heard you speak about you have some very high paid advisors that you bring in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you bring them in almost like to mentor your senior team. Is that the way you kind of approach it?
Yeah, so there's a few pieces here, and I'll give you our exact strategy. And it's been I'll tell you I'll tell you the problems that we've faced with it literally today. But our general approach is find people who love your business and are hungry, and then pair them with an advisor who's been there and done that, and pay the advisor $1,000 an hour. Now, if you're just getting started, you can a lot of times hit up advisors for coffee, especially if you're younger, and people will respond. But I'll tell you, almost anybody will respond to $1,000 an hour to chat with you. Almost anyone, even me. Maybe not 1,000. And so what I'm saying by that is, and give you different, I'll give you examples of people we hire. So we have Moody Glasgow. He is the CMO of Zapier and Glassdoor, the former. He's our marketing advisor. Jenny Bloom is the former CFO of MailChimp. Christine is the former CPO of Duolingo. And people then next question is, well, how did you get him? I literally just went on LinkedIn and saw if I knew anyone who knew them and asked for an intro. And some of them, yes, I just emailed them myself. But if you can get a warm intro, or you just email them and say, hey, are you open to advisor positions? A lot of these people at least will say no. And then when they say no, you just say, who would you refer? And then they say to that person, then you hire that person. So that's been one approach. I mean, we have advisors. So like Eamon is my CEO advisor. I can't share how much these guys get paid. It's up to them. But with Eamon, literally today we're discussing a salary of one of our key people, and it's a 6-figure difference in salary. And I can literally text this person. He's like, "Yeah, I've already seen a bunch of these examples. Here's why you're wrong." And when I get advisors for the team or for myself, I'm really just looking at what do I suck at. And Eamon's really great at operations, and he's now advising a lot of different companies. So it's like operational and org chart understanding is very deep. And I'm just looking at in literally every aspect of our business. So like, for instance, paid marketing, we spend $500,000 to $1.5 million a month. So literally, it's like let's get someone who's the best in the world. So we found this guy who did it for Dropbox and a bunch of other famous companies. It doesn't mean they're always great. You have to interview them and do a trial run, and you get them in. It's just like a game changer.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And yeah, look, so a lot of what we focus on is kind of building those advisory boards up, but also for our members who then go and sit on boards of companies, there's this whole expert networks piece as well, which is basically what
Yeah.
you're saying, but the financial markets pay a lot of money when you have that expertise and when you position yourself. And so I kind of want to sort of finish up on that area around personal brand. Because you've really kind of gone all in on that over the last few years, and I remember watching one
Yeah.
of your early YouTube videos. I think it was you in your kitchen, kind of going, "I'm not sure why I'm doing this."
I'm still I'm still in my kitchen asking that question.
Except now
I
you've
can by the way, I can stay later because I came on later, so don't worry about the hard stop at 7.
I appreciate that. Well, look, I'm sure people are getting really good value from this, but yes, I'd love to. You kind of did that a lot earlier than a lot of people I know, and then it's been a journey, and you really kind of doubled down on it, and you got the production company, and the quality of your content now is just off the charts. It's brilliant, and
Thank you
like
so much.
you're incredibly transparent. You're incredibly brave. One of the things I was talking to the audience before you joined was you don't
Thanks, Joel.
you don't use your personal brand when you're going and talking to strangers, and uh, it would be so much easier for you when you meet someone, say, "Hey, I run a multi-million-dollar business," and then start the conversation, because
Yeah,
it would get rid of so much of the awkwardness, and you never do that. And I know the right reason why you never do that, because you're trying to show that anyone can do this, but
you
it's
can do it.
incredibly brave, and it's impressive.
Thank you.
I'd love to know kind of what is your thinking around personal brand, and both over the
Yeah,
last 5 years, and over the next 5 years, where you think it's going.
yeah. It's kind of like the what's next question. And, for me, about to be a father, me and you kind of look the same. You have kids?
Yeah, too, but 11 and 14, so it's not.
Okay. I'm about to have a new girl, baby girl. And so, what's next for me is just really being present and less things around that. And the same thing, relates to my content and brand. I think one of the best advantages in business is having some type of presence, and it's something, and let me be clear here. I like doing it. I think that's probably a big difference for most people. And they're like, how do you build a brand? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to build a brand. I just know that I like being public and I like interviewing people, or I like making the content. I like figuring, hey, why? Like, I put out a video yesterday and it's not, we thought I was going to do like 1 million views, but it's not doing well. Okay, cool. Why not? And so I'd say with content creation, what is unique? What is fun for you to do? What do you have unique to say? And can you do it for 10 years? Because I think that's the differentiator in this world almost. Like if you're willing to do anything for 10 years, you'll win. And yes, my book is about how to get it started in a weekend. And I talk about the law of 100, which is you can check out a site for free, lawof100.com, which is how do you sometimes have to stick with things. But I find that most people don't either enjoy it. They have nothing unique. Like people are like, how do I grow my YouTube channel? I'm like, show me your channel. I'm like, your videos suck. Like no one wants to watch it. Have you asked anyone why they don't watch it or what they like about it or what they don't? And then you have to stick with it for a very long time for that success to finally come. And so I see, it's amazing the power that's happening to content creators. But what I've observed is I like having a business and my content helps the business as well as I like making the content. Not I'm a content and I have to make a business around it. I think that puts a lot of pressure on the content itself. What we're doing with AppSumo, which is interesting, is can you actually make content as a business? And I think if you look at content creation from your business, it's better to go find people who are already making content and really just and sponsor them. I think it's a specialty and you have to really work on it. It's taken us a long time. And so I think the content it's a great play for a lot of people. What I would recommend if I had to give one strategy for business owners out there trying to be a part of content is go sponsor tiny people. I call them prefluencers. I think you can go out there like with when I launched $1 Million Weekend, I just went out to people that were I did go to some large shows, but I went out to people you probably never heard of, and those people are super receptive and they don't expect money and they're just happy to be a part of it. And that's what I did at mint.com. It's what we've done at appsumo.com. And so I think from a content perspective, if you're not wanting to do it, maybe find someone to do it or go find people who are already doing it that are not getting a lot of pay or a lot of attention. And you'd actually be shocked how willing they are to receive your book or post about it or make a video.
Yeah, absolutely. So I often get asked about starting podcasts, and my advice, which I kind of did myself, was go and be a guest on at least 20 or 30 other people's podcasts first. And there are so many podcasts out there, so many people that are desperate for guests. It's very easy to do that. And you can also get much better at engaging and learning kind of what questions you want to be asking. And it's a chance to build an audience before you start a podcast, rather than start a podcast and then try and build an audience in a very crowded market. So where do you see, like in terms of the YouTube, so you're putting out less content moving forward. What are your kind of what are the trends that you're seeing around that whole space, and where you want to go with it yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the interesting thing I think it's going to get bigger and there's clearly a lot of ways you can get rich creating content and you don't have to even be on the screen. You could be behind. I'll tell you a surprising thing that happened to me, Callum. I'll tell you a few different things around content. I was doing a lot of these videos knocking on doors or interviewing billionaires. And when Million Dollar Weekend came out and I launched my a video about me talking about my stuff, no one watched it. No one was like, yeah, who gives we don't care about that bald guy. And that was that was interesting. It was a good, every failure is a lesson. Every failure is a learning opportunity. And I like making content. So as much as I was disappointed, I wasn't giving up on that because I like this stuff. And so it was an interesting realization for content creators where if you're making content that's popular and it gets quantity, it may not be the quality that you're actually looking for. In the sense of now my strategy, instead of doing just the biggest videos possible, it's how do I create popular videos that are fun for me and can get some views as well. But I think where there's a doom is when you try to make content that you don't like, that you want to go viral, and it doesn't do either of those.
Mm.
And so for me, my new strategy is, either interviewing billionaires, sharing what's going on in my day-to-day life, or making content that I'm excited to make for underdogs. That's who my viewers are. Trend wise, I think that the biggest trend in content creation is how many ways you can make content. You can do content about gardening, you can content about chess, poker, flying, studio rooms, moms, like single fathers, how to be a dad. Like there's so many ways you can get rich now, specifically even in content, that I find interesting. I think the other thing that people don't think deep about is really focusing on just one platform to build your content on. I see a lot of new people are like, I'm gonna do TikTok, and it's okay. I can just like chop it up and put it out there. And I've found that my number one channel I'm focused on is my email list.
Right.
So it was a surprising twist when I did my YouTube for my book, and no one really watched those videos. And I was like, huh. The one thing I can control is my email list. So every channel's job is to get organic traffic for free from those channels to then push them into my newsletter.
Mm.
And because you realize like you post on Twitter and you get views or don't get views. And so one, I'd pick less channels to try to grow your awareness on, and then focus on how do you get those audience from those platforms into your own controlled system. So I use sendfox.com, but use ConvertKit or Beehive or MailChimp. And I think if you're running a business and you're not doing email, you're missing out significantly.
Yeah, no, if I've learned one lesson from you over the years, that the email list is absolutely.
It's where the
Uh,
money is.
yeah, no, absolutely. I would guess that the majority of the people on here today are here through the mailing that went out. I mean that topic, and I've kind of been watching your content, watching Cody, Daniel Priestley, and it's. I think that there's a balance to be struck between trying to do content that you know will be popular, or you feel will be popular because it seems to be working and it's trending, and your team will tell you that's what the algos are looking for, versus the content that is perhaps more appropriate for your audience. So I give you an example in my world. And you will have had the whole Mr. Beastification of YouTube, of quick edits and lots of graphics and excitement and big numbers and all of that sort of stuff is really been a trend. And yet, actually, a lot of our audience are quite happy to sit and watch an interview like this for an hour with no fast edits and snappy content, just interesting content, and trying to balance that. And I think there's probably an element of there's top of funnel, so getting people in with short, snappy stuff, so that they will then take the time to look at the longer form content. But I'd love to get your sort of theories on how that's evolved for you over the years.
Yeah. I've stopped, what I started the show with was about subtraction. So like I'm not doing TikTok, I'm not doing Instagram, I'm not doing really threads. I don't really spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. It's really like YouTube, Twitter, and my email list.
Mhm.
I I think what you're saying, which I really like, is who are you making the content for? And I think people get excited. They see how many subs someone has or see how many views someone has. But what they don't see is the quality of the viewer. Like we have, I don't know, 30 plus people here, maybe hundreds will watch it, of like really high quality people, I'm guessing. And is that not more valuable than 10,000 people who don't care who you are? Oh, I don't even do shorts anymore. I stopped doing shorts completely. And what I realized is that those people never really are interested in checking it out. Maybe they find awareness through you, but I just found that I'm more excited to find less people that are higher engaged to what I'm actually doing. And so we've actually pulled down some of the content that we put up that was, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. And I think for everyone out there, taste the dish. I love that phrase, taste the dish. So what that means is like, how much are you watching your own content? I literally never watch Mr. Beast. I think it's, it reminds, it's like fast food of content. It's like good, but after I watched it, I'm like, what happened? Nothing. So I've really been curating the content I consume myself as well as what I output uh, to be more substantial, to be more, unprocessed food. You could the unprocessed food of content. And look, some people want to consume that content. People like making that. That's great. That's just not what I'm interested in. So I see that as the trend. I think the other thing I've noticed is that there are a lot of content creators. Let's take the business space that I'm in. And if you look at topics, everyone copies each other's topics pretty dramatically. And I think that's okay in the short run, just to get reps in, just to get practice in, just to kind of build up your content creation muscle. But I think where you win is when you really find your own path. And that means you find the one or two types of content methods or content buckets that you really just develop and own yourself. So for me, I'm really just doing billionaire interviews and more or less just content about my business journey.
Mm.
Because you can't, because like you go to YouTube and look at Cody or look at any of these people, it's the same exact stuff. And so you have to think, what can I create that no one else can create?
Yeah.
And that you enjoy making. I think I've stopped this year more than ever, Callum. Like just making it because it'll be popular is just not of interest to me. And it's very hard to sustain that. It's very hard to be like, I'm burnt out. It's like, yeah, of course you're not. You don't like doing it. And so I think those are the areas that kind of fascinate me. Like, yes, I can make videos knocking on doors, but I don't like knocking on doors. I'm having a kid. I want to be at home. I don't want to be knocking on doors.
Just
And I like making,
fair
yeah.
warning, the content that you're going to be viewing over the next few years is going to change dramatically. There's going to be a lot of Peppa Pig. There's going to be a lot of very different content.
I'm excited. Yeah, Peppa Pig, Bluefy. I was watching some, Netflix videos last night. And I think when you're doing business, like what people forget almost all the time is like who's the customer? Same with Billion Dollar Weekend. Who are you serving? And I think if you can just stay true to that and true to that you like doing it for yourself, that's the simple secret of success. Like yes, there's a lot more stuff into it. And I showed the complicated today because even though I said to get a dollar, like find things that others want, who the customer, and that you're like, I enjoy doing this. And that is a really nice recipe for like my content. I'm excited to do this till I die, this content stuff.
Nice.
And it's fun. It's fun. And if it's not fun, fix it.
Cool. I think that's a very good place to leave it. People are having to jump off for other meetings, but thank you. It's been fascinating as always. I really appreciate all of the content that you do put out. It's super useful for people at whatever stage they are in their journey. Any last kind of thoughts beyond buy the book, get the
Yeah, I was
book?
looking at some of the questions from Joni Frondorf.
Mhm.
I would even, it's funny when someone asked about advisors.
Hmm.
Uh, I even have YouTube advisors. I almost never do anything alone. So for YouTube, I have a guy named Jeremy from a thing called Clickables. He does thumbnails, and then Patty Galloway. I pay Patty $1,000 for 30 minutes a month just to go over the 4 ideas we're going to do for the next 2 months, and then a few of our thumbnails. And it's priceless. I pay it every month. And so someone else is asking the qualities of advisors. I think you want someone who's been there, done that. And I think you have to be clear with your advisors if you want them to be hands on or not. Some of our advisors go and do the work with us, like our CRO advisor, whereas our marketing advisors comes in, reviews a little bit, gives us all the work, but doesn't get dirty. And so I think you have to kind of be clear what level of expectations you have for these people.
Hmm.
But yeah, advisors, I mean, it's in general are just a game changer across the business. Um, but and I rely on them in a lot of areas. Like I think in terms of spend, it's somewhere between 500 to $1 million a year on advisors at AppSumo.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think just on that point about setting expectations, it's also on the advisor side. If you're going to be an advisor in somebody else's business, setting your own expectations or setting the expectations of the owner very early on, like this is what I can do for free. I'm happy to do an hour of coffee, but anything beyond that is it's a different game. If you want me to come in, train your team for half a day, that's a revenue generating opportunity. And yeah, it's great to hear. I'm the same. Have advisors all over. Some formal, some informal, but
Right.
it's can't imagine trying to figure this stuff out on my own.
I think being able to text them is priceless. Literally, like I'm trying to figure out salary and I'm texting the guy and he's available tomorrow. I was like, hey, can we meet tomorrow? I was like, sure, send me over the doc, send me your recommendations. I'll leave comments, then we'll have a 15-minute async. And like that's literally the cheat code. Like for skipping ahead and all the problems I'm going to be facing and the things that I'm not maybe strong at. Cause I'm like, yeah, sure, give him the money. And the guy's like, what about this? What about that? It is those blind spots.
Yeah,
I am available to be people's advisors for free on my newsletter and on YouTube and Twitter. That's where I do my free advice or my book.
yeah.
There's a lot of my free advice out there.
Very cool. Thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciated it.